Hey guys, welcome back to Claim Brandalorian. My name is Brandon. As always, if you're into anything in the Star Wars universe, whether that's lore, theories, Funko, and Lego, go ahead and consider subscribing. You can always change your mind later. Spoiler warnings going into everything in Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 7 titled Choice. Not too much of a breakdown or a review. We're just kind of going to talk about what we saw last night and how we're going to move forward. Some things I really want to point out in this video are we finally get to see what happened that night on Brendok. What actually caused the fire? What happened to the witches? Was there any Jedi going in and basically assaulting everyone at the temple? What happens? We finally get to see that. And I also loved how we finally got to see Torben and Kelnaka square off. We know the reason why they squared off. You know, that was a huge question. Was Torben still being manipulated through the magic? Was he going to be basically a pawn of the witches? I do want to get my nitpicks out of the way, just whatever knocked it down a couple points for me for this episode. Definitely, I think it was a good episode overall. I do want to say the twins dynamic, I'm still having a hard time trying to clue in what exactly is going on with them. Like, obviously, we see that their midichlorian count is through the roof, not as high as Anakin's. I'm assuming it's not even anywhere close to what Anakin's was. I feel like May and Osha were the first steps at recreating life. Obviously, they were created, but at the same time, it's not as significant as Anakin Skywalker. And I do think that these are just the beginning steps of dark magic or Sith magic that end up manipulating the midichlorians and creating life. And I feel like they get better with it over time, hence Plagueis creating Anakin. So I think these are good stepping stones. I feel like it was just a little bit lackluster for me just because I was really anticipating Soul going in and just wiping all the witches out. I guess I'm not too upset about it. It kind of made a little bit more sense towards the end of the episode on actually what happened. One thing I really did want to talk about was Torben and his guilt. Everything that we see in this episode, you know, he's a young apprentice and Dara's his master, and you know, she is very stoic. She's very straight to the point. You know, she doesn't really play around too much. So I think this is a really good aspect for Torben, especially with his character. But we do see your boy just wants to go home. You know, Torben was trying to get out the function. He wanted to get back to Coruscant and get back to the normal things that they're supposed to do as Jedi. But I did think that was cool because, you know, sometimes in real life, those are some things we go through is, you know, we just want to get out of here and go back to what we're used to. They did say that they were away from Coruscant for 7 weeks on this mission, trying to find life on this planet. And then this kind of ties into how Soul ends up seeing the girls at the tree. So this all ties in. Another thing too is I feel like a lot of the episode was like kind of copy and paste. We get to see different points of view, which I thought was cool. You know, we get to see the other side. It kind of reminded me of a Quentin Tarantino movie where everything comes full circle at the end, but you see it in the POV of another character. So I think that aspect is really cool. I just think some of it was just a little bit lackluster just because I personally was expecting a lot more to happen. At the same time, I'm not going to knock the episode because it wasn't something that didn't happen in my favor. Another huge thing I thought was insane was that this all could have been avoided. You know, every choice, every decision that you make, everything can be avoided. Everything leads up to the ultimate, you know, decision making factor. I just think it's crazy how Soul wanted this relationship with Osha, you know, as either, you know, father to daughter or the Force connecting them, basically wanting to raise her as his own, as a Padawan. I just think it was so crazy how Indara was like, I spoke to the council, this cannot happen. They don't want to bring two twins at this high of an age into the Jedi Temple to go ahead and start Jedi training. But yeah, I just think it was crazy how Indara told Soul, you know, I already talked to the council. You cannot train these children. You know, we cannot take them back to Coruscant. It is forbidden. This cannot happen. I just think it's crazy how Soul just wanted to do his own thing. And these were some kind of signs of the dark side, you know, not necessarily him tapping into the dark side by any means, but him just showing that freedom, you know, and I feel like that is the entire dark side point of view in the Acolyte, is just that temptation, wanting to be free, wanting to make your own decisions. And at this point in the Jedi Order, that is not a thing. Like, you are very by the book, you are down to the script, and it's no other way. It's the Jedi way. So I think that's really cool how we get to see that dark past that Chimera was telling Soul, you know, during their battle in episode 5. And I think that was a really good tie, a little good connection that I feel like some people could miss out on. Absolutely loved seeing that. And another huge thing that I will take away from this episode that I really enjoyed was just the simple fact of knowing that the witches were able to kind of form as one. Power of one, power of two, power of many, whatever. Cool. Strength in numbers, I get it. You know, the music, it's no big deal to me. I mean, it is what it is. It's different. It's a different take on Star Wars. We're also in a different time telling a different story, so different things are going to happen. But at the same time, I do like the aspect of how the witches into Mother Coral, that way she could manipulate and control Kelnaka. That was crazy. So that was finally the fight scene that we got, that we've all been anticipating. But I think it was cool how the witches all formed together, and I didn't really care too much for this when they were, you know, kind of manipulating Kelnaka. I wasn't a huge fan of that. That was super creepy, but the horror guy I am, I loved seeing that. That also raises a question too. Mother Coral could still be out there. Maybe she is the one behind enemy lines. And that draws me to my huge new theory, is that Mother Coral is still out there and wants to team with Sith. So maybe Plagueis and Tenebris are out there. Mother Coral connects with them, leading them to finding Chimere, who used to be a Jedi. And obviously, maybe if Master Vernestra was his master, you know, pushing him off and obviously physically harming him could make him go down a dark path as well. So now we have Tenebris and Plagueis on the sides, as Mother Coral is kind of the head or top dog to Chimere. Mother Coral and Chimere kind of start their own faction of the dark side, known as the Wren. So they kind of want to do their own thing, and they want to obey one. It's not necessarily, you know, the rule of two where you have a master and an apprentice and that's it. But I think this is a really cool way of showing that Mother Coral could still be out there, knowing that Chimere is definitely the one out here killing Jedi. I think this would be a good lineage, and I think this would be a good start to the Knights of Ren and the Ren ultimately. But at the same time, I just don't think Chimere is Sith, especially after this episode. And I do know that he told Soul that they would think he's Sith, but he's not. I just feel like this last episode, in episode 7, kind of cleared that up. But there's so many sides in this episode. You know, you don't know if you want to take the Jedi side, you don't know if you want to take the witches side, the twin side, because they're just kids, you know, they don't really know exactly what's going on, but they want to keep that lineage of the witches going, and same thing with the Jedi. Just the one other thing to add, I don't know how I can miss this, but Mother Anastasia basically talking about Order 66 and everything that is to happen in the future. She kind of knew it. The Jedi, they are very high on their horse. They think the light is super bright for them. You know, you see this all throughout the prequels and everything that leads up to episode 3 and what happens. But it's crazy to think over 100 years ago, there's a group of witches and the leader is talking about how is ultimately going to be their demise. Crazy. I thought that was awesome. But like I said, this episode, it had some ups, it had some downs, but overall, I did enjoy this episode. The end credit music, I thought it was pretty fire. It kind of gave me some SZA vibes, and I was just like, man, this is kind of tight. But at the same time, that's the first time we get a singing song at the end of a Star Wars project. So, you know, it's Disney, Star Wars, times have changed, but I'm not really going to hold it against them. I'm more entitled to the story. That's what I want to know. I just want to know what's going on. I feel like there's bigger things to gripe about. But other than that, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings going into Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 7 and leading up to the finale. Like, what are you guys expecting? Thank you guys for watching this video. As always, Clan Brandalorian, I'm out.